Okay, Mystica team, this is for you guys. I'm going to show you how to set up a digital photo booth. So we're going to start from the beginning of the backdrop, which when you get to the venue, you're just going to want to look at the floor plan I either give you or ask somebody, likely wearing black, that works at the venue on where you're going to go. Sometimes lighting can impact that if there's like really bad up, like down lighting or lighting behind where they want you to set up. Feel free to find the venue and get them to turn that off because it will impact your photos horribly. So we'll start with the backdrop, which is what I usually always start with because that is going to frame your picture. So this is pipe and drape. These are adjustable poles, and so the way they work is a bearing system. So you raise it up, it holds, you lift up these two little metal pieces here, and it drops. So they go on the base plates, which are one of the more annoying things that I own. And then, so there's two uprights and a crossbar in every bag. So they'll go on like so. And then this crossbar here is also adjustable. So it's also on buttons. You usually want to go to the third hole, which is 7 feet. I think for us, we're going to shorten it a little bit though, because I'm working in a tighter space right now in the shop. So you can always just hold it up and get to where you need to get to, shimmy it until it fits. And those will fit in here. So the way that that'll work then is you grab the drape, which is behind me. Okay. You always want it to be straight, so you can always take a step back and look at it or whatever you need to do. So I'm just going to pop this on, and then we'll have a cleaner space to work with. So this is the drape. We'll just pull it till it's tight. Our bigger drapes go end to end. This is just for a demo. And then you raise it up. And then you just want to be just off the ground when you do it. So I can only go this high, but typically you want the drape just above the ground level there so that people aren't stepping on it, or else drunk people will slip and fall, which we don't want them to get tangled up in the drape at all. And then you just kind of pop it back a little bit if it is touching the floor. So the next thing you'll do, or I'm going to do, probably not you, you'll probably set up the photo booth next, but first I'm going to get a table going. We have room for that. Sometimes we supply the table, but most of the time, I try and bug the venue for such a thing because they're super annoying. So we're just going to do a nice little table for the printer. Normally, you'd want it taller and set up nicely. In this case, I'm going to find where I put my purple tablecloth. It's over here. And so again, if you are putting the tablecloth and table out, you just want it to look nice at all times. Everything is just lined up, and you also have a table now to hide your stuff underneath if you need to, if the venue doesn't have a nice spot for that. So moving on to the photo booth. The main one we have is the BoothMaster booth, so you guys will be using this one most of the time. So that's the one I'll demo with. We do have other ones, but for the most part, this will probably be what you get to set up. And in here, we have the booth. So there's usually a tablecloth and an extension cord in every bag, and that'll get you set up with everything you need to get started. There's also the screws, which we'll hunt down as well. So the head always goes first in the bag, and that is because then the bag will actually zip closed. Otherwise, it might not. And you always just want to separate it with foam or a tablecloth, like the white one here, so that it doesn't get scratched. So we have the head of the photo booth, and that is going to have your iPad charger as well as your light plug-in. There's the base, and then this is also the piece that'll connect to the base. You can tell because it has the 4 screw holes on the bottom. You'll want to pull the power out or feed the power through, which I'll show you guys after. And this is the middle piece, which just goes on. So each bag will also contain all of these screws that you'll need to set the booth up. If one of them is missing a screw, we'll keep it off the bottom. That's usually the white ones, though. This black one has all of the screws. So, for setup, you can use your table. This is usually easiest. And you'll just want to pop the power through the bottom. And then you can grab each screw and start screwing this together. So, you just kind of find the holes and make it work. You want them to be fairly tight, but like not so tight that your teardown is going to be terrible. But you don't want it to wobble. So finger tight is good. And then you'll finish screwing that together. Okay. There we go. So before you drop the photo booth on the ground, what you can do, depending on where your table is going to go, in our case, we're going to run the power, just one cable from the booth out. So what that looks like is you get your power cable, and then you can actually just stick it on and pop it in the booth. Give yourself a little extra play there. So now, when you drop it, it'll be much easier to tape because you have made yourself a nice flat line. So next up, you can grab your second one, and then everything gets plugged in. So there's 3 power cables, like this has a power, this has a power, and this has a power. That's the idea. And then everything just goes together. You don't want to miss this or else you'll be unscrewing the booth. There we go. And then your middle piece will jump on. You'll want to do your next 2 screws after. That way the booth isn't wobbly like that. That's most important at the head. So that'll just screw together. And then you've got the last piece, which is the head piece. So this one is, you can always just put the power on after on this one because you can actually access it because there's a hole in the front. And it's pretty simple. You just don't want to get any cables mixed up. If you do, like this, you just kind of pop them in so everything sits flat. And then you'll take your power and plug it in. Just like that. And then, so the idea of this is that you're hiding the magic. You don't want people to see what makes the photo booth tick as much as possible. So I'm going to put on the last 2 screws on here, and that'll secure everything. I'll do a flat lay of the face plate after for a second here. There we go. So you want to make sure that you're going to get power. So the way to make sure you get power is that you can see that there's a red light that'll come on your power bar or a green light that'll come on to here. So I'll plug this in right now and show you. We've got red is lit up here, and we'll have a green light on our light here. So that's perfect. So you want to make sure you have that before you actually plug in an iPad and everything and something doesn't work. So moving on to the head. Okay, so we have a couple different kinds of heads. This one though, for the iPad, is the most simple and easiest. So you always have these 2 kind of screws, or you'll have 4 screws for the bigger faceplate, but that's a DSLR. So we're working on the iPad booth right now. And this is what it looks like. So I'll just like show that this is the faceplate here. So you're gonna have 2 screws for it. And then the way that it looks is like this. So you're gonna have every single bag. You're gonna have the camera is gonna be on the top here, and then the bottom is here. The other way you can see that is on the back. Hey, I had it upside down. So did I? So you have the bottom here, which shows all of the power goes in here. And then this switch, you'll just turn it on to cable when it's plugged in. And then these also control that the light is working. So you have control of color and dimmer. Just keep those at max on this booth. That's fine. If something seems too bright, you can adjust it. We have a light on top of the booth as well. So we'll screw this in. Okay. So the way to screw this in is to be super careful and not drop it. That is one of my big things. Don't drop the head. That will screw up everything. So that plugs in the iPad power, and then we plug in the light power, and it turned on. So I'm going to turn it off so I don't blind myself. So you can use this toggle here, which you can get to after as well. This pops up, and you can already see the Apple logo is on the screen and turning on. So that's great. And then, so it's kind of, you just kind of finagle it. I just hold the head at the top here, and then I find the hole to put in at the back here. So it screws in. Actually, I'm going to show this first before I do that hang on one second. Okay, one second. So I'll get your camera for that. So on the faceplate, you'll see all these screws are here. Yeah, no worries. So on the faceplate, you'll see all these screw holes. And then, let me know when you're ready. Okay. And then, so there's multiple ones that you can use. Some of these are for DSLR, some of these are for iPad. You'll always just use these two middle ones for the iPads. So you can also see on the front that there's two screw holes here. So when you're doing it, you just kind of hold it really secure and just kind of find the first hole. You can hold it at the top or on the side. I usually kind of cradle it. And then these just screw in. You take your second screw. And then you'll just tighten it all the way. Holy speed mode needed. So again, hiding the magic, you'll just want to make sure all these cables are kind of like tucked up as best as possible so that nobody sees anything dangling down here. And that is the setup of the iPad tower booth. So you can also turn on the light now, and you can turn on your second light, which for the most part we'll turn these on. It just makes a better photo when you have the second light. You can plug it in. There is a power cable if it's low on battery, but it does run on battery as well. There we go. And so now you have a very bright light pointing at everybody. So all you have to do is when you open up the iPad, so when you unlock the iPad, so we just typed in the password there, and then next we're going to go find Snappic. So there is a shortcut, but we're just going to jump into Snappic, which is this circle here, if you need to know what it looks like. So it's the black and white one. You click on there, it'll say a live event is happening, and we have SIM cards, so 5G, so you'll be on the internet. If you're not for any reason, if you're in a remote place, then you'll go on the Wi-Fi's at the venue. So to do this, then all you have to do is you have to click on the live event that you're assigned to. So for us, we're going to do the SANQC. And then you'll get all of this screen. Now, the only thing you have to worry about for the digital photo booth is hitting Start Photo Booth. And then it'll load up. And then this is going to be your camera screen. So for us here, you're going to make sure that you look good. So, woo, hair. So you make sure you look great. Yeah, thumbs up. And then if you need to adjust anything, you have exposure, which I usually stay under 1, but if you need to brighten it up a bit, the picture, you can. So I keep it usually, let's say at like 30 or 15 or whatever. I usually keep it pretty low because our lights are so bright. The white balance. So the white balance, when you click on the white balance, it's going to give you this temperature reading. So if you want, you turn it off of auto. So this is this one. So this is if your pictures are turning out like really like, if they look like this, you're going to want it off of auto, right? Or if it looks like super red and green. You don't want anybody's picture to look like this, and you don't want them to look super green, and you don't want them to look super blue. So those are kind of where I click auto to get kind of a rough guesstimate of where I'm going to be. You turn that off, turn off auto, and then you can kind of set your thing a little bit there. So the brighter, you don't want it overexposed, but you want it fairly bright, and you want the skin tones to look right. I'm a very white person, and I usually have rosy cheeks, so this is pretty good for me. Complexion, good. Okay, so then you hit Start Booth. So now that you've launched it, you're going to have these options at the bottom. It could be still, boomerang, GIF, and then you don't have to worry about that, but you will take a test photo. So to take a test photo, you'll click on still, you'll click on the template in this case, and then usually it's automatic. You can do digital prop if you want to do digital prop. And then read your eyes.
No prop for me.
No prop. You got your camera in the way probably, and a hat. So it goes through, and then after it goes through, no prop again. Okay, maybe a prop. We'll see what happens. A prop. You'll send a text message to Chris or I. So you just hit the text button, and then my number for social media now everywhere is that. No one texts me. Okay, feel free to blur that one out before it goes on there. And then all you have to do to finish up is you hit the guided access button, which is kind of hard to see, but because I have it dimmed. So there's this button here. It's either on one side or the other. You click on that, and then it says guided access started. That means that nobody can now access the iPad. So that's great, and that's all you need to do. And then we'll set up printing. So in every bag, you're going to get a roll of tape along with your extension cord. And what you're going to do is make sure that you always tape in a straight line and make sure the tape is not going to trip anybody and everything is just perfect. So the way to do that is your tape. You take it, you tear off a strip, and then we'll go down here. And you start by making a tack. So if it's rug, you might need a bigger tack than on a hard floor like this. So that you just make a nice straight line. So now you can pull your cable. You make a second line if it is on rug. So you want to make a second little tack, you'll just kind of pull straight. So see how the line's straight, make a tack. You might not need to if it's on a hard floor like this. And then you'll make your final spot here. I'm just going to not bump that. So you'll want to just take it to where it gets under the backdrop or under a table. So in our case, we'll get to the tripod. So now you've got a straight line. Take your full piece and you just make sure that it lays down across, end to end, and then no one will trip. So that's the last part for that digital booth. Next, we'll move on to the printing. Okay, so when you're printing, every booth is going to include a print kit. And in the print kit, if you open it up, you'll see kind of a bunch of cables and things going on. If you ever need to know exactly what's in it, especially for teardown, we do have the inventory on the back of every single one. So that'll tell you what's going to be in there. So we'll close up that. And what we have is a power cable, a USB cable. These are both for the printer, the power end and the USB end. So we'll show you those. You're going to have your charger to your tablet. And then you're going to have your tablet. And then you'll have your router if you need it. This is for if you don't have internet access, you can still print. So it creates a wireless connection, and we can show you that as well. And that gets plugged in with a plug in there if you need it. And then you have a triple head. So let's set this up. Okay, I'm gonna pop this off. Then I'm gonna get the printer maybe. I'm gonna slide this all over. There we go. Okay, I'll bring the printer to the table. Okay. And then the other thing you'll have in every printing kit is, of course, not in the printing kit, for every Photobooth printer, is in these boxes here. So this is the DMP DS40 that we use, and it's super easy to use, which is super nice and super reliable. So there are problems that can happen, but we've gone through all of them now, and I will make a video about that later. So when you're setting up, okay, wait, 1 second, that's falling. So when you're setting up the printer on your table, you just want it so the wires typically go to the back. So if you're setting up in this fashion where things are coming forward, you want the wires to go to the back, and then the pictures come out the front, and that's where guests will pick them up. So to set this up, we'll start by powering up the printer. Okay, so sometimes you'll have the printer off on another table, so you'll need a second extension cord, which we'll have with it as well. If it is on another table, everything will still talk. We're just going to set it up directly in front of it now, even though nothing is actually connecting to the booth itself. So in this case, if we have a triple head, might just plug in an extra one for an extra spot for power. And then that all gets tucked under the table to the back where everything will run. So let me just do it for demo's sake here. I'll put it up on the table for demo. That might be easier. Okay. So for the sake of demo, you have your printer. This would be under the table, but we'll set up on top of the table right now. So what'll happen is you take your power, and then this will go in the back of the printer. So this will get plugged in into the back. And then you'll see the other spot there. And that is for your USB cable for the printer. So this is the USB cable, and that plugs right in there as well. So you'll take this now. We'll leave this up front for our tablet. And the power will plug in to our extension cord. Just like that. So now you will have power. So for the printer, all you have to do is there's an on switch right down here. So you just turn that on, and then you'll hear a bunch of noises. All these lights will blink, and that means your printer is on. And if it's green, it is, well, to start with, working. So next, what you'll want to set up, you'll take your tablet. I usually put it on top of the printer so I can easily access it. This will just flip like that. These tablets don't last forever, so you usually got to plug them in no matter what. And they might be dead when you get them. So again, they just don't last forever on these. So you take your cable, you plug it in, and then on the USB-C end on these guys, they just go into the tablet. So that's usually just anywhere on the side. Pretty easy to find that. And then you'll make sure that you get a white dot, which means that the power would be working. So we'll just hit there. Perfect. Make sure the tablet's charging. For the demo, which I probably don't have to say out loud, but anyway. So we make sure our tablet's charging. It shows that it's charging here, which is what we want to see. And then the USB from the printer will plug in to the tablet. And you'll see that on the side. Where is it? There it is. So you plug in your tablet, so now you've got power to it, and you've got your printer talking to it. So these all have the drivers already. That will be in another video of problems that can occur. So when you're jumping into here, you're going to want to make sure that your Wi-Fi is on the same Wi-Fi that the iPad's on, or else they won't talk. So the way to do that is you can hotspot this booth. So when you close the screen, you just can kind of 5-finger grab any screen here, and then on the iPad. So we'll go into settings, and then in settings, what you're going to want to do is click on personal hotspot and just toggle that button at the top there. So we'll just turn on all of that. And that says allow others to join. So as you would, you'll just connect your tablet now by clicking on right down here, this Wi-Fi symbol that's here. You'll click on there, and then you'll find the BoothMaster booth. And there it is, Black BoothMaster, which is the one we're using, and connect. Perfect. So now, once you're connected, you'll go back, just grab the screen, back into Snapic. So, and then when you click on here, we'll pause on this screen, and then we'll jump back to the tablet, which might be a little janky for video, but anyways. So what you'll want to do next is you'll find the Photobooth print server. So the print server is on the desktop. So you'll open up the print server. You'll always say yes to anything like this. Yes, I want it to do things. And then we'll give that a second. This pops up. So what this screen is a Snapic print server. In our case, we're going to do 4x6 printing. So that's a standard config versus strict config, which means 2x6 printing, which is often what we do as well. And in our case, we're going to do the standard configure, and it says it's configured, so we should be good to go. On our printer right now, we are using the DS40, so you'll want to click into the printer options, and then you'll just want to find the DS40. Now you're set on the tablet. I'll go back up to the iPad, and then you'll see a button here, and it says Configure Printer. So you'll click on Configure Printer, and then the Photobooth print server will show up. Otherwise, it wouldn't be there. You click on there, and now, as you would, you'll start your photo booth. You'll set your lighting and your white balance. You'll hit start, and now you'll do a test print. So for us on this one, we'll use this template, hit start, and then I'll do its thing. This would have been easier with a 1-up. All right, so you'll see it'll cycle through, and now what it'll do is the print button will pop up, and it automatically will always print 1. So if you want to print more copies, I'll let you do that. Yeah. And now, have our printout. You're done with printing. If you want to print more copies, you can use the app, click on the print button at the top, and print more copies. Okay, and that's pretty much it. I think that's it. Okay, so now what we'll show you really quickly is if you need to set up the router. So the router, just like we did with the Wi-Fi, is what you'll be connecting. So the trick is...
This one right here.
Okay, so the trick here, you're going to see that it has its own Linksys name, and it has its own password. So the same way we just set up the personal hotspot, you're going to set up onto here. So we'll plug this in. Okay, so now that our Linksys is plugged in, you'll always want to keep it up by the printer, but the cabling will go to the ground. So the Linksys is plugged in, and now we're going to find it the same way we would, just like the other one. I'm just going to toggle the Wi-Fi so it comes up. And now, there it is, Linksys. So we click on there. Now we want to connect to here. Mine as for the password, I might have already used it with this before, so it just connects. So same on the iPad now. You'll jump out of here, and then you'll go into your Wi-Fi. It's on, you find the Linksys. Now, what this will do is it'll stop texting from going out, but you'll get prints, which is more important with a printing photo booth. You want the prints over the texting. So you'll see it'll say no internet connection on your screen, and that's okay. So the no internet connection is fine. We're not going to worry about it because we care about printing. Then you're all good to go. Now you have a printing photo booth. Hooray.